Alright, so recently, and this is kind of recently, there has been a lot of questions going on since after last week's Direct. It has already been a week now since this Direct, and a lot of people want to rip a new one with Nintendo. Now, this is not surprising. This was expected. Personally, I give the Nintendo Direct a little bit of a B plus because it was better. It was better than most to my opinion. However, there has been now recent craziness going around about pricing again. Um, there's no new game coming to Nintendo Switch. There's literally some problems, even in the parts of Pokemon, which, to be fair, we have made a mention of. And of course, now there's also a weird conspiracy theory going on that is very weird. And this has begged the question, is it okay right now to kind of support Nintendo? Of course, the answer to that is easy. That depends on you. If you don't feel good supporting Nintendo right now, I totally understand. I'm still going to play their games. I'm going to do that. You know, um, but really it is kind of a debatable thing to say the least because it really is kind of like downplaying. But this has gone to the point where it got like weird and stuff. Okay, so for context, if you guys don't know, I may not be able to get everything, but here's what I know. So far, there's been a lot of problems with the recent Direct that was just released last week. For me personally, I saw the problems myself, especially with the Pokemon one, because I'm still, like, I am getting it. I am a fucking Pokemon fan no matter what. I mean, I eat, breathe, and love Pokemon. That sounds weird. But even I have to admit, I'm now paying $9. And keyword, I know I keep saying 90 bucks. I know it's $100 if you count Switch 2 edition, but I'm getting the I got OLED still, so I'm getting the Switch 1 version of Pokemon. So yeah. And basically, in all honestly, that's basically also been causing a questioning, but the major thing is the pricing of other games. And one of the major ones that have been causing problems has to be uh, the Mario and Galaxy thing. So Mario Galaxy has been causing controversies because the game, at least the first game, is already on Switch. If you got the Mario 3D collection during their 35th anniversary, if not, then hey, you're getting a second one. But also, it's just a port of the Wii game, and it's going to be costing for separate both $40 for separate and 70 combined. AKA, you're going to be mostly paying 70 or $80 for the games, and it has caused a uproar, especially with the combination pack being $80, another $80 game. And what caused this to be even worse is the fact that many know that this is a port. This is a repackage of an old game. I personally will say, honestly, I don't really can't put anything on this conversation other than I do understand the criticism when we're just talking about in general ports of the game, because we'll get to that later because that's more important. But I can't put my own foot into this conversation because the problem with it is I'm not a big Mario fan. Like, the only true Mario game I ever played is Mario Maker, to say the least, and a bit of Mario Kart 8. But even then, I barely truly play Mario Kart 8 nowadays. And as for Mario Maker 2, I only just fool around with it, and that's it. Like, I'm not into Mario at all. I'm actually ironically not really into the big guns when it comes to Nintendo. Most of I'm into with Nintendo is either their more side projects or, of course, Pokemon, to say the least. Like, Pokemon and somewhat of Kirby, but mostly Pokemon. So, And it's interesting though because again, I get to one of the biggest problems right now is people are saying that not only is this game is causing bugs, which I don't think we need to go down that route, especially since we'll go and touch that later in a bit. But it's also a repackaged game. They've been putting out repackaged games on the Switch 1 and 2 right now, and especially Switch 2, as many are saying there's not enough new games. And that makes sense for a couple of reasons. For one, they're basically putting updates to other old games that's already been out on Switch. You know, those upgrade packs that people are barely going to probably touch because they don't want to replay the game or something. And of course, there's not enough new games coming out this year. Now, to be fair, and I'm not trying to be that person, but we do still got some new games coming out this year. I mean, obviously, our next discussion, which I'll talk about later, is Pokemon ZA. That's coming out next month. And that's from Nintendo. Yes, that's mostly from Game Freak and, Pokemon Company, blah, blah, all that gobbledygook, but that's still Nintendo, so that argument is kind of invalid with that. And many people say, where's the hard-hitting ones? Where's their AAA titles? I'm like, yeah, I get your point. Where's Zelda and where's Mario? But you forgot their other AAA title is Pokemon, right? I mean, it's not feeling like it right now for sure, but Pokemon's actually one of their third best-selling games. Don't you usually have free hitters when it comes to AAA games or something like that? I don't know. I'm not trying to be that guy, but But the reason why I'm willing to say that and even say not try to be that bad, because even with that, I truly understand the little bit of the frustration. Because honestly, other than Pokemon ZA, which again comes out next month, and I think Kirby Air Raids, which even then that's a little bit we're basically not getting a whole lot. We're getting it next year, and even then that's taking forever. Like, for example, I am excited for Tomodachi Life, Living the Dream, and I'm getting that game as well. But that's taking forever because that's going to be in spring next year, not winter, spring, and that game almost look like it's completely done by now, unless they're still making some edits towards it. I don't know. And even then, that probably doesn't count because the only main hitter I can see right now happening is the Fire Emblem thing. That's gonna be next week, or not next year. My bad, year, not week. And I honestly do not know what to say about that because I do agree that they should have more content. But the only reason why I don't think they have more content is, remember, this is Switch 2, but they're also still supporting Switch 1, which still sucks a little bit, but hey, that's kind of the reason why I'm able to get ZA. I still have the Switch OLED. And it doesn't seem like, and not to mention, there's that whole situation where there's some development kit issues of the third party, which even then, there are still third party games coming out. Like, there's freaking that Sonic Racing, which unfortunately I won't be able to get right now because I'm focused on not only ZA, but afterwards I have to get Mina the Holler, so I'll have to wait until way later to get Sonic Racing. But many people are saying this is gonna kill freaking Mario Kart World or something. I don't know. I don't care. I mean, I know Sega's taking advantage of it with that weird new trailer. I haven't even seen it. I only saw a little bit, and I heard what it was about. And I was like, yeah, this is what people are saying. So, hey, I want to blame them. They're taking advantage. That's how game companies do. This is just hope they don't get shot in the nuts by Nintendo, but whatever. But it's definitely a very interesting situation because, yeah, there's not a lot of content, even on the Switch launch. And I am making some weird correction here, but even then it doesn't count, too, if you think about it. The only true brand new game other than Mario Kart that was released on the Switch's launch was Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4. And trust me, none of these people who talk about the Switch 2 situation don't bring it up because justifiably, that's a forgotten kind of game. And you can still put it into, well, Deltarune's been out all the time and all that. So that's kind of justifiable, to say the least. I mean, still, Chapter 3 and 4 are their kind of old separate games. I mean, if you count, like, also, like, probably playtime or of other chapter games, to say the least. I don't know. Chapter games are weird. But still, that's, like, the only brand new content they actually, if you even consider content, they added with Switch 2 and stuff. Like, there's even a whole big deal where the Switch 2 edition or the Switch 2 version of Deltarune Chapter 2 and 3 and 4. In Chapter 3, you can play a secret boss with a mouse. So, I don't know about that. But that's it. Like, they barely release anything new on the Switch, too. And that is kind of concerning. Like, I don't mind ports. Honestly, don't mind them at all. In fact, honestly, I do understand and see why they're doing a lot of ports. But honestly, I do agree that some of the new games that are coming out isn't helping justifiably with these new ports or new games. The only game I can think of that is okay is Pokemon ZA, and that's stretching it because many people may shoot me for that because I love Pokemon, but also that's technically the only new one. But that's in the same vein as also with that whole Donkey Kong game, to say the least. Speaking of which, both that and of course Pokemon ZA DLC, that was another issue that I totally agree with. Believe it or not, and yes, I do totally agree, even though I am getting it. They really did not justify the releasement of those two DLC, especially Pokemon DLC. Like, I'm still getting it. I'm still excited. Heck, I did my previous video was predicting, or making a wish list of what Pokemon I think deserves a Mega Evolution, and somewhat predicting. But look, I'm willing to pay $90, but that's me. I know there's a lot of people who are gonna look at that and say, what the fuck? And that's me. There is the $100 price tag if you add the Switch 2 edition thing. So you're paying $100 for Pokemon, which, by the way, I think I said this before, but I'll say it again. Man, I did not expect Pokemon to be the one to be the first video game so far to truly be hitting like a $100 price point. Like, of course, I did mention Civilization before, and of course, there's that weird AAA clock gold edition, which is like $9.99. I'm not joking. Literally, look it up on Switch. Although they usually price it down to $1 because they know they can't sell it like that. There's a way they can put it up on the system. But I never expect Pokemon to be exact and hit $100. Like, I understand kind of why it is a popular series, but like many people, even though it's egregious, wouldn't you just wait until the game comes out and then do what Donkey Kong, whatever it's talk about, whatever the subtitle is, and release the DLC later? That's egregious. I've been hearing the issues with the DLC being boring, which, to be fair, I'm not surprised because the DLC is like, what? You just mine for emeralds? Like, no offense, if you like that, more power to you. There is a lot of unique gimmicks to it. I haven't played it, but I wouldn't blame people who even haven't played it seeing it like it's boring. That's saying, yeah, to say the least. I do see there might be value to that. I'm not trying to put it down like most people, but I'm like, yeah, I want to blame people hating this. And that's just Donkey Kong's situation. It's pretty clear when it comes to Pokemon's DLC, that is a new section and all that. That makes sense. I mean, and there's definitely is hints of that. But really? Like, I don't care how much you put Hoop on the screen. I'm okay getting it, but I know, and I want to blame people for questioning why the literal fuck, other than greed, did you put the DLC way early? And what was the only thing other than waiting patiently for it you get from it? Cool costumes, which, okay, and admittedly, they are cool for me. But even then, that's it. Costumes. Like, look, no joke. Look it up, and you'll find out if you do another pre-order with this, you get costumes of Y or Z like stuff. And I'm like, you're kidding. That's how you're gonna convince people? It's not even better than the other pre-order bonus you get for the normal game, where you just get a waltz with a Garvanite. That's actually a good start to get your team going. How is this gonna prove anything? And that's just Gardevoir. Like, like, okay, you're giving me a waifu Pokemon and clothing as a pre-order bonus. That really doesn't make any sense. Um, but of course, the real issue with that is it just shows, yeah, Nintendo is. I mean, of course, we can all agree they're greedy. I mean, every company is greedy. That's the only thing I can say about that. It gets annoying when every time people repeat it. But it comes to the point where you do question if Nintendo is paying attention to that as like, okay, we need to back up with this because it's just weird. It's becoming very weird. And even for me, I'm not gonna lie, I actually kind of debated of making this video because it's not like I am a blind Nintendo fan, of course, but at the same time, I don't mind this stuff because video games, while they may be part of my life, they're not my main source of life. I work on jobs and stuff. And I bring this up because interesting, a commenter on my previous video involving $9 saying of Pokemon ZA brought up a good point saying that he doesn't really mind this at all as well because he too is working and he's able to afford that. It's people who justifiably can't afford this who sees this as a problem, and that is a problem, to say the least. And to be fair, while I don't think Nintendo is fully trying to price people out of Nintendo Switch, because I've been seeing that as well, I do think they're accidentally kind of doing that. And I do mean accidentally. I don't know if they're truly purposely doing that, but it is coming to a point where you question the stupidity. But that does leave into one other thing I do want to talk about, and I'll make this quick. Recently, there's been a weird conspiracy theory going around. It started, I think, yesterday for sure, but it may be even further back. But there's this weird conspiracy going around that's saying that people who are defending Nintendo are getting paid by Nintendo or stuff like that. And I'm like, really? Really? Like, I am okay with Nintendo, and of course, I'm not always going to defend them. I'm still questioning why the fuck they put a DLC before the game, to say the least. But I'm not getting paid for Nintendo. I have a job. I actually work. I don't need Nintendo to pay for me and stuff. And I think the reason for this thing is there's a lot of tension building with this situation. It's been building. Of course, we've been this before. I already did like even an entire video, and the point is, even though again it's just full of beans of this whole situation, because again, we're all adults here. In the end of the day, it's just a video game console, something at least. You can buy another game console if that's what you want. That's all you have to do. You don't need to make death threats and everything. Or literally, at this point, I'm afraid someone's going to go to Nintendo headquarters and start shooting up the place. And I'm willing to admit that on camera because I'm afraid that's going to happen. But in the day, it's going to look pathetic because, again, this is just a game console and stuff. And honestly, I really don't know what to say about this other than it's really dumb because I don't think every person is saying that. I mean, right now, Good Vibes Gaming is justifiably talking about this right now, and they even did a couple of videos about the situation. And then this whole thing, which actually inspired me to finally do this video, the whole Spawn Wave thing, because yesterday there was a weird conspiracy theory being posted in the comics section, and of course, because he made an error on a graph, literally, which is the most dumbest thing ever. And he did correct it today. He did correct it today on his news wave. So, but again, it's just an error on a graph. Like, are we just going to jump to the gun here? like again, I get the tension of Nintendo. I do believe like because the main issue is Nintendo is not doing a good job convincing people getting Nintendo Switch and stuff. They really do need to start pumping up some new games, honestly. But I think the real thing they need to do is communication. This is one of those things where they really do need to talk to people and be like, "Hey, this is why you need to buy this thing and stuff." Or at least be patient with us. Not literally just keep like honestly, and I hate to say this because I don't mind the sport of this Nintendo Switch One, which is cool for backwards compatibility. But yeah, we need to kind of now leave Nintendo Switch One and make Nintendo Switch Two games, literally. And it does seem like they are doing it, but they are not convincing people they are because there are tons of new games that are coming out for Nintendo Switch Two. They're not convincing people. That is the problem, to say the least. Um, but yeah, it's a very tricky situation. And by the way, one last thing: if you are literally questioning your purchase of Switch Two, which first of all, I don't even understand why someone would be questioning their purchase. For one, if you are, you can just resell it. First of all, if you're that desperate and embarrassed. But honestly, I don't think you need to be embarrassed. I think it's just a waiting game. Plus, also, if that's your very first Nintendo Switch or Switch 2 or upgrade or anything, I highly recommend just keep it. Just literally keep your Nintendo Switch 2. Like, if it's your only console and stuff. Like, literally, there's nothing wrong with that. But of course, you can just always, resell it and stuff. Like, you shouldn't be ashamed to get a Wii Switch 2. And honestly, I'm just getting annoyed. It feels like they're turning this whole situation into politics because no one want to really talk about politics right now. For justifiable reasons, because politics is sucking like ass right now. But really, it's just becoming to the point of where this fucking negativity is coming from. God damn it. Anyways, this has been Flosscat. Snapping out for. Bye.